Have you ever felt like you're always preparing for a life that never begins? That true joy, true celebration, is always after the next achievement, the next goal, the next healing. This feeling isn't a failure on your part. It's a program. An invisible addiction that keeps your body in a constant state of alert, postponing your own happiness. Today, we're going to deactivate that program. I'm going to show you the physiological truth that ancient traditions knew. Celebration isn't a future event. It's a command you give your body now. There's a key, a biological mechanism that, when triggered, forces your system to stop fighting and start receiving. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn isn't just an idea. It's the instruction your body has been waiting for to finally start celebrating and receiving all the good things in your life. If you feel your time to celebrate has arrived, comment. It's finally happening. You've spent your whole life believing that celebration belongs to the future. There's a silent belief, almost an invisible addiction, that joy is only allowed after the obstacle is overcome, the debt is paid, or the goal is achieved. The mind whispers that the present is just a waiting room for real life to begin. But while you wait for that magical event that supposedly brings relief, your body is trapped in a constant state of alert, fighting invisible threats. What you call preparation is, in fact, a refusal to inhabit the present itself, a chronic postponement of your own existence. True celebration is not an external event, but a silent revolution that begins the moment you decide to stop running away. This constant waiting is a defense mechanism. The mind, conditioned by fear, creates the illusion that the future will be safer, more complete, more worth living. It projects happiness onto a distant point on the horizon to justify the tension of the present. You convince yourself that you need to be vigilant, prepared for the worst. And this vigilance becomes your identity. The problem is that a system programmed for war does not recognize peace. It interprets it as a dangerous oversight. Thus, even when things are going well, a part of you looks for the next problem, the next threat, sabotaging any chance of genuine relaxation. You know, speaking about this vigilance and the difficulty of giving a command of peace to the body, I realize that many people get stuck because we were never taught the correct language to speak with our own reality. There is a very ancient knowledge, coming from the mystery schools of Egypt, about how our frequency and our word, what the initiates call logos, shape matter. If you feel that your operating system is outdated and want to understand how to use vibration and sound to organize the chaos in your life, I highly recommend that you read my ebook, The Logos Code, The Story and Knowledge of Thoth. It is a deep guide about the knowledge of Thoth and how to apply this mental architecture to stop reacting to the world and start creating it. I left the link to it in the first pinned comment of this video. It is a perfect complement to what we are discussing here, especially if you feel that you need a practical tool to tune into this new frequency. Take a look at it later. It is really worth it. But returning to our physiology, the physiological truth is brutally simple. Celebration happens when the body relaxes, not when your bank account hits a specific number or when you receive a cure diagnosis. Celebration is the signal your body receives that it's safe to switch out of fight or flight mode. It's the moment when the sympathetic nervous system gives way to the parasympathetic, initiating processes of rejuvenation, digestion, and mental clarity. Delaying celebration is literally delaying your own healing. You are denying your body the only language it understands as safety, keeping it in a state of accelerated aging and chronic stress. Think of the present moment as a portal. Every second you spend obsessing over the when, instead of diving into the what is, you're closing that portal. The energy that could be used to create, heal, and magnetize opportunities is being consumed by the anxiety of waiting. You become a leaky vessel, unable to retain vitality because you are constantly projecting outward from yourself. Real life, with all its texture, abundance, and magic, is happening here and now. But you are too busy looking at a future that may never arrive in the way you imagine it. Society reinforces this illusion. We are taught to celebrate milestones, not moments. Graduations, weddings, promotions. These events become islands of permission for joy in an ocean of effort and sacrifice. But true mastery of life lies not in collecting trophies, but in cultivating the ability to find the sacred in the ordinary. It is the ability to feel celebration in the simple act of taking a deep breath after a stressful day, in the warmth of the sun on the skin, in the silent connection with another person. Life is not an obstacle course. It is a dance that happens in every step. The main obstacle to this perception is fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of failing, fear that if you relax, everything will fall apart. This fear is not just an emotion, it's a bodily chemistry, a cascade of cortisol and adrenaline that is addictive. Breaking free from this addiction requires a conscious decision to trust the present. It requires the courage to let go of the reins, to believe that you can be safe even without controlling every variable. It's an act of surrender that paradoxically gives you back all the power. The first truth to integrate is this: celebration is not a reward, it's a tool. It's the mechanism that recalibrates your system and opens up space for more good things to enter. As long as you keep it as a distant prize, you will continue operating with an empty tank, perpetuating the cycle of scarcity you so desperately want to break. True change doesn't begin with a new strategy, but with a new physiology. And this physiology has its own language, a language your mind needs to relearn to speak. The mind thinks of achievements, but the body has a completely different language. For your biology, celebration isn't applause or an award, but the simple ability to relax in the present moment. When you live in a state of constant fear, tension, or anxiety, your nervous system operates in survival mode, locking the door to any form of deep renewal. The vagus nerve, that mystical bridge between the brain and the organs, yearns for safety to activate true healing. As long as you don't allow your shoulders to slump and your breath to deepen, vital energy will continue to be drained by imaginary battles. The first step to true magic isn't a complex ritual, but the courage to disarm your own defenses. Your nervous system is the guardian of your energy field. It doesn't respond to positive affirmations if your body is screaming danger. Chronic tension in your jaw, shoulders, or hips is a clear sign that you're stuck in a pattern of contraction. This contraction isn't just physical, it's energetic. You're literally closing yourself off to the flow of life, to the opportunities and abundance that circulate around you. It's impossible to receive with closed hands. Similarly, it's impossible to attract prosperity when your body is energetically entrenched, waiting for the next attack. Modern science is only beginning to map what ancient traditions have always known. The state of your nervous system determines your reality. A nervous system in fight or flight mode prioritizes survival, not expansion. It makes you reactive, impulsive, and focused on scarcity. On the other hand, a regulated nervous system in a parasympathetic state opens the doors to creativity, intuition, and the ability to make aligned decisions. The shift from one state to the other doesn't happen through willpower, but through safety signals sent to the body. Breathing is the master switch. Short, thoracic breathing signals panic. Long, diaphragmatic breathing signals calm. By consciously changing the way you breathe, you are hacking your own biology. You are telling your body, "We are safe. The war is over." This simple act, practiced consistently, begins to rewrite decades of stress programming. It is the beginning of transmuting anxiety into presence. Creativity and non-linear solutions cannot emerge in a rigid body. They flourish in the space created by relaxation. Relaxation is not a luxury, but a spiritual discipline. It's the practice of consciously releasing the armor you've built to protect yourself. Every time you loosen your shoulders, unlock your jaw, or sway your hips, you are releasing stagnant energy and communicating to the universe that you are ready to receive. You are moving from a state of resistance to a state of allowance. Abundance doesn't need to be hunted. It needs to be allowed. And allowance begins in the body. Think of your body as a musical instrument. If the strings are too tight, the sound produced will be shrill and unpleasant. If they are too loose, there will be no sound at all. Mastery lies in finding the right tension, the perfect tone that allows the music of life to flow through you. This state is called coherence. It is when your heart, mind, and body are in sync, emitting a clear and magnetic frequency. This frequency is what attracts synchronicities and opportunities. The journey to celebration, then, is a journey into the body. It's about learning to listen to its whispers before they become screams. It's about understanding that physical tension is a direct reflection of mental resistance. By addressing the body first, you create the necessary space for the mind to calm down and perception to expand. But for this to happen, you first need to stop judging what you encounter, abandoning the lens that separates everything into good or bad. We have been trained to observe life through a fractured lens, dividing each experience into good and bad, gain and loss. This constant duality transforms us into merciless judges of our own journey, unable to see the continuous flow of existence. When we judge every moment, we create an invisible resistance that blocks the perception that abundance and love are already present. Life is not happening against you, but unfolding for you, revealing precisely the patterns that need to be broken. This shift in perspective requires abandoning the arrogance of thinking we know what is best, to finally embrace the mystery of what simply is. This lens of duality is the main source of suffering. It creates an internal narrative that you are constantly being tested, evaluated, and often punished. An unexpected event becomes bad luck. A challenge becomes an obstacle. A loss becomes a failure. This constant interpretation generates energetic friction that drains your life force. You expend an immense amount of energy resisting what is happening, instead of using that same energy to navigate the situation with grace and power. Life is not a series of isolated events, but a flowing river. Judging the current does not stop it from moving. The truth is that the soul doesn't operate on the logic of good and evil. It operates on the logic of expansion. The situations your mind labels as bad are often the most effective tools the soul chooses to break crystallized patterns. Losing a job can be the catalyst for discovering your true calling. The end of a relationship can be the gateway to self-love. Illness can be the call for a profound recalibration of your lifestyle. The inability to see this higher order is a failure of perception, not an absence of purpose. Abundance works the same way. It's not something you acquire, it's something you tune into. The perception of scarcity is a product of the lens of separation. You look at your life and focus on what's missing, what's broken, what hasn't yet been achieved. Meanwhile, the abundance of air you breathe, the complexity of your body, the small joys and connections that already exist, are ignored. Shifting your focus from scarcity to present abundance isn't a mind trick. It's a realignment with truth. It's recognizing the resources you already possess to create the reality you desire. The practice of abandoning judgment is an act of spiritual humility. It is admitting that your conscious mind has a very limited view of the grand scheme of things. It is exchanging the need for control for trust in the process. This does not mean being passive or indifferent. It means acting with intention and power, but without tying your emotional well-being to the specific outcome you desire. It is Buddhist detachment in its most practical form, loving, creating, and acting fully, while freeing yourself from the tyranny of expectations. The perfection trap is one of the subtlest manifestations of this lens. The pursuit of being perfect, of doing everything right, is a form of internalized judgment. You become both the judge and the defendant. This pursuit creates distance between you and others because perfection is isolating. Vulnerability and imperfection, on the other hand, create connection. Accepting your flawed nature, your humanity, is what allows others to connect with you on an authentic level. It's what allows you to forgive yourself and ultimately celebrate who you are now. The invitation is to break through that lens. It's to begin observing life with curiosity instead of judgment. It's to ask, what is this trying to teach me, instead of why is this happening to me? This subtle shift in inner questioning completely alters your energetic frequency. It moves you from a victim position to a student position. And as a student of life, you begin to realize that even the darkest moments carry a hidden purpose, a wisdom that can only be accessed when resistance ceases. There is a profound purpose in what you considered your worst moments. The soul, in its ancient wisdom, often attracts events that shatter the rigidity of the ego and force the expansion of consciousness. That period of darkness you tried to forget was not a punishment, but the precise preparation of the soil for the harvest to come. To understand this, it is necessary to return to the records of the past, not with pain, but with the clarity of one who has survived. Often the stories we tell about our childhood wounds are incomplete narratives, created by young minds trying to make sense of chaos. Rewriting this story is what releases the energy trapped in trauma. Painful childhood experiences, especially those that haven't been processed, create fractures in the psyche. These fractures become the basis for the limiting beliefs that govern your adult life. The feeling of not being good enough, the fear of abandonment, the need to prove your worth. All of this originates from incomplete stories. You carry these stories not as memories, but as operating programs running in the background, dictating your reactions, your choices, and above all, your capacity to feel joy and relaxation. The pressure you feel today is the echo of an old pain. The strength you developed to survive these traumas is real, but it came at a cost. You learned to be hypervigilant, to anticipate danger, to not fully trust. This strength, once a survival tool, has now become armor that prevents you from living fully. It keeps you in a state of contraction, always ready for battle, even when there are no enemies in sight. True healing lies not in denying this strength, but in integrating it, recognizing that the armor can ultimately be removed. The healing process, known as reparenting, is an act of inner alchemy. It involves traveling back in time, not to relive the pain, but to meet your inner child with the wisdom and compassion of the adult you are today. It's about offering that child what they didn't receive: security, validation, and unconditional love. It's about telling them that they weren't to blame, that they did the best they could, and that now you are here to take care of them. This inner dialogue is what begins to glue together the shattered fragments of your being. This integration is not an intellectual process, it's somatic. The energy of trauma is stored in the body, in patterns of muscle tension, in the chemistry of stress. By revisiting the past with a new awareness, you allow this energy to finally move and be released. It may come as tears, tremors, or a profound sense of relief. Each release is a piece of the past that ceases to dictate your present. You stop reacting from the wound and begin to act from your integrated essence. Often, life takes us away from what we want to give us what we need. A loss of inspiration in one area of your life can be a call to look inward and heal one of those old wounds. The universe may orchestrate a necessary detour to force you to confront what you have been avoiding. The quickest path to your goal is not always a straight line. Sometimes, you need to descend into the depths of your own unconscious to rescue the lost parts of yourself before you can soar to the heights you desire. When you integrate these fragments, the internal pressure begins to lessen. The need to control everything, to be perfect, to seek external approval, loses its power. You discover a source of validation that comes from within, a self-confidence that doesn't depend on external circumstances. The armor you've carried for so long begins to feel heavy and unnecessary, and you finally understand that true power lies not in rigidity, but in the ability to be vulnerable and fluid. The strength you built to survive past storms has come at a high price. Being strong and resilient has become your identity, but the hidden consequence of this armor is unsustainable internal pressure. Constant tension stifles creativity, dries up the source of inspiration, and transforms life into a perpetual battlefield. True spiritual maturity requires recognizing that strength without flexibility is just another form of imprisonment. The evolution of being happens when we allow this pressure to be released, melting the rigidity that prevents us from flowing with life. True mastery lies not in enduring everything, but in knowing when to let go of the weight. This armor is composed of your defense mechanisms, sarcasm, emotional detachment, the need to always be right, workaholism. Each of these traits was forged in the fire of painful experience as a way to protect yourself. They worked for a while. They helped you navigate the minefield of your history. But now, the battlefield has changed. The war is over, but you remain dressed for combat. This armor, once a salvation, is now a cage that isolates you from intimacy, joy, and spontaneity. Creativity cannot coexist with rigidity. The state of flow, where brilliant ideas emerge and time seems to disappear, requires a relaxed nervous system. It is impossible to be truly creative while angry, afraid, or in a state of tension. The pressure to perform, to be brilliant, actually blocks the channel of inspiration. Genius doesn't come from brute force, but from permission. It flows through you when you create an inner space of relaxation and trust, allowing something greater to manifest. The paradox of passion reveals this truth clearly. Pursuing a goal with obsession and desperation often pushes it away. The energy of need repels what you desire. The quickest path to success, paradoxically, is to focus on the joy of the process, on the passion for the act of creating, regardless of the outcome. When you fall in love with the journey, destiny takes care of itself. It's detachment in action. You fully commit to what you're doing, but release the need for it to bring you a specific result in order to be happy. Releasing the pressure of your armor is an act of courage. It means allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It means admitting you don't have all the answers. It means asking for help. For those who have built an identity around self-sufficiency, this may seem like an unbearable weakness. But true strength lies not in never falling, but in knowing that if you fall, you will have the ability to get back up. And, more importantly, that you will have the humility to accept an outstretched hand. Vulnerability is what creates true human connection. Living to fulfill your own values instead of the expectations of others is a powerful way to shed that armor. When your actions are aligned with what is truly important to you, the need for external approval decreases dramatically. You stop wasting energy trying to fit into molds that don't serve you, and begin to radiate an authenticity that naturally attracts the right people and opportunities. The effort to be accepted is replaced by the ease of being yourself. The moment when muscle tension subsides, the 0 point, is the threshold to a new reality. It is in this instant of physical surrender that the mind opens to solutions that could not be found through linear logic. It is the portal to intuition, to genuine inspiration, to the feeling of being connected to something greater. The key to this portal is not in a mantra or a complex technique. It lies in a simple and profound command, a rescue you can perform at any time. There is a simple and immediate practice that can alter your body's chemistry right now. Close your eyes for a moment and bring your attention to the tension accumulated in your jaw and shoulders. Breathe deeply, allowing the air to reach the base of your abdomen. And as you exhale, give a silent command for the muscles to relax. Imagine that you are sending a signal of absolute safety to every cell in your body. In that exact millisecond of physical relaxation, you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system and opening the portal to true celebration. This is ground zero, the place where anxiety dies and absolute presence is born. This act, which may seem trivial, is one of the most powerful recalibration tools you possess. It's a reset button for your nervous system. In a world that constantly demands your attention and pushes you into reaction mode, the ability to consciously return to this 0 point is a superpower. It's not about eliminating stress, but about shortening recovery time. It's the ability to prevent the tension of one moment from contaminating the next, creating a cycle of calm amidst the chaos. Shifting your focus is the second pillar of this practice. As tension dissolves, move your attention from scarcity to abundance. Instead of thinking about what's missing, what went wrong, what you still need to do, anchor your mind in what you already have. It could be the feeling in your body, the chair supporting you, the sounds around you, gratitude for a small thing. This deliberate shift in focus from lack to presence is like changing the radio station of your mind. You stop tuning into the frequency of fear and start tuning into the frequency of gratitude. This practice isn't about forced positive thinking. It's about recognition. It's about training your mind to see the whole reality, not just the part that causes you pain. The mind has a negativity bias, an evolutionary inheritance to keep us safe. To counteract this, it takes a conscious effort to focus on what is good, what works, what is already abundant. Over time, this practice reconfigures your neural pathways, making the perception of abundance your default state instead of an effort. Value-aligned action arises naturally from this state of presence. When you are operating from the 0 point, your decisions are no longer driven by fear or the need for approval. They come from a place of clarity and authenticity. You begin to say no to what drains your energy and yes to what nourishes your soul. Your actions become a direct expression of your deepest values. And this congruence creates a powerful magnetic field that attracts experiences and people who resonate with your true essence. The pinnacle of spiritual maturity often resembles the curiosity of a child. It's the shift from "when will this happen?" to "why does this happen?" The first question arises from anxiety and contraction. The second, from curiosity and expansion. Returning to square one is to rekindle that beginner's mind. It's looking at the world with new eyes, free from the weight of past expectations and judgments. It's recognizing oneself as an eternal student of life, finding wonder in the process of discovery. This rescue at ground zero is the gateway to integration. Each time you practice, you are strengthening the muscle of presence. You are teaching your body and mind that it is safe to be here, now. And it is from this place of safety and presence that you can finally turn to the fragmented parts of yourself, not with judgment, but with the compassion of a mentor ready to embrace and heal. The path to wholeness requires you to become the mentor of that younger version of yourself that still yearns for attention and security. When we embrace our wounded parts with compassion, we stop seeking external validation and begin to piece together the scattered fragments of our own essence. The impulses that once unconsciously guided us, such as the obsessive need for success or approval, begin to lose their power. Emotional healing and spiritual evolution are not about becoming another person, but about gathering all the parts of yourself that have been abandoned along the way. It is in this state of wholeness that true joy finds space to anchor itself. This journey of integration is the most intimate and transformative work one can do. It means looking at your shadows, not as flaws to be eradicated, but as exiled parts of yourself that need light and acceptance. Anger, envy, sadness. Each of these emotions carries a message and an unmet need. Instead of suppressing them, you learn to sit with them, listen to them, and understand their origin. You become an alchemist who transmutes pain into wisdom and fear into love. Reparenting is at the heart of this process. It's an ongoing dialogue with your inner child. It's acknowledging your fears, validating your feelings, and assuring you that this time you won't be abandoned. This act of radical self-love fills the inner voids you've tried to fill with achievements, relationships, or substances. You stop outsourcing your emotional security and become the source of your own sustenance. Dependence on the outside world to feel complete begins to dissolve. As you integrate these fragments, your perception of life fundamentally changes. The triggers that once threw you into spirals of reactivity lose their power. You begin to see challenging situations not as personal attacks, but as opportunities to practice this new way of being in the world. The compassion you develop for yourself naturally extends to others. You recognize the wounds and armor in them because you have already made peace with your own. Judgment gives way to empathy. True spiritual humility is born from this work. It is the recognition that everyone is on their own healing journey, fighting their own inner battles. The arrogance of feeling superior or the shame of feeling inferior disappears, replaced by a sense of shared humanity. You understand that perfection is an illusion and that the beauty of life lies in the imperfect dance between light and shadow. Radical self-acceptance becomes the foundation for radical acceptance of the world. Living in a state of wholeness means that your actions, thoughts, and feelings are aligned. There is no longer a civil war raging within you. The energy that was once spent on internal conflicts is now available to create, love, and serve from a place of fulfillment. You no longer need to force results because your very presence becomes a magnetic field that attracts what is rightfully yours by divine right. Life ceases to be a struggle and becomes an expression of your unified essence. And it is here, in this state of integrated being, that celebration becomes your nature. It is no longer something you need to seek or schedule. It is the constant vibration of your being. You celebrate not because you have achieved something, but because you are. You become the celebration itself, a living embodiment of the joy, presence, and peace you have so long sought. The journey does not end. It merely begins in a new and extraordinary way, from a place of wholeness. There is a profound irony in the way we pursue our goals. When we are desperate for a result, we create a tension that pushes away precisely what we wish to attract. The mind fixates on the final destination, transforming the process into a heavy and meaningless burden. But when we abandon the obsession with the result and surrender to the passion of the moment, life redirects us in surprising ways. The state of flow, where action and awareness merge, is the fertile ground where true miracles happen. The universe responds not to the desperation of lack, but to the magnetic frequency of genuine joy. The energy of need is a frequency of contraction. It sends the universe the signal that something is missing, reinforcing the absence itself. It's a vicious cycle. The more you despair of something, the more you vibrate in its absence, and the more reality mirrors that lack. You become an exhausted hunter, chasing prey that always seems one step ahead. Frustration accumulates, the armor becomes heavier, and celebration seems ever more distant. The mistake lies not in the desire itself, but in the energy of attachment that accompanies it. Buddhist detachment, often misunderstood as indifference, is actually the key to resolving this paradox. It's not about not loving or not desiring, but about loving and desiring without your well-being, depending on the outcome. It's the ability to fully surrender to the action, to find joy in the very act of creating, building, and relating, allowing the universe to orchestrate the details. It's a radical trust in the flow of life, a certainty that what is yours will find its way to you when you stop trying to control every step. Think of life as a river. Trying to force an outcome is like trying to row against the current. It demands immense effort and yields little progress. Surrendering to the passion of the process is like adjusting the sails of your boat so that the wind and current carry you. You are still active, still navigating, but you are in partnership with the forces of nature, not in opposition to them. The loss of inspiration in one area is often a sign from the river, an invitation to explore a different tributary, a necessary detour that will lead you to an even grander destination. The flow state is the physical manifestation of this alignment. It's when the ego dissolves and you become a channel for the creative intelligence of the universe. In this state, time distorts, effort disappears, and excellence emerges effortlessly. Athletes call it the zone. Artists call it divine inspiration. It's the point where your passion and the will of the universe become one. This state can only be accessed from a relaxed nervous system, from the zero point you have learned to cultivate. The practice, then, is to shift the focus from what will I gain from this, to how can I find joy in this now. In every task, in every interaction, look for the point of pleasure, the element of curiosity, the spark of passion. By doing this, you transform the mundane into the sacred. You stop living for the weekend, for vacations, for retirement, and begin to live in the richness of each moment. Celebration ceases to be a destination and becomes the journey itself. This shift in frequency is what finally allows your desires to materialize. When you no longer need them to be happy, they lose their burden of despair and become free to enter your life. It's the ultimate cosmic irony. You receive everything when you stop needing anything. And this freedom is only possible when you finally abandon the heaviest of all burdens, the need to be perfect. The relentless pursuit of perfection is the greatest enemy of authentic celebration. We create an idealized persona, a false story about who we should be, and punish ourselves daily for not reaching this unattainable standard. This cruel demand disconnects us from our own humanity, making us rigid, cold, and incapable of real connection. True beauty lies in imperfection, in the scars that tell the story of our journey, and in the vulnerability that makes us relatable to others. Abandoning the mask of the perfect being is the most revolutionary act of self-love you can perform. The radical acceptance of who you are in this moment is the key that unlocks the prison of the mind. Perfectionism is a manifestation of fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being rejected, fear of not being loved. It creates a polished but fragile facade. Behind the mask of perfection, there is a terrified child, convinced that if their flaws are exposed, they will be abandoned. Maintaining this mask consumes a monumental amount of energy. It's a constant performance that prevents you from relaxing, from being spontaneous, from simply being. You become both the jailer and the prisoner of your own image. Human nature is flawed, and that is its glory. Imperfection is what makes us unique, what creates the texture and depth of our experience. Perfection, on the other hand, is sterile and isolating. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with truth. They connect with the courage of someone who admits they don't know, with the resilience of someone who has fallen and risen, with the authenticity of someone who dares to show their scars. Their vulnerability is not a weakness, it is their greatest point of connection. When you allow yourself to be imperfect, you give others permission to do the same. You create a safe space where authenticity can flourish. The pressure to perform disappears, and interactions become lighter, more genuine, more nourishing. You stop trying to impress and start connecting. The energy that was spent maintaining facades is now free to be used in creating real and deep bonds. Celebration becomes a shared act, not a solitary performance. Accepting your own flawed nature is the first step toward true self-compassion. It's stopping the inner war. It's treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend. It's recognizing that you are doing the best you can with the tools you have. This compassion dissolves the rigidity of self-criticism and opens space for genuine growth. You cannot hate yourself until you become someone who loves you. You can only love yourself exactly as you are now. The detachment from perfection also applies to your work and your creativity. Many brilliant projects never see the light of day because they are trapped in the prison of not yet perfect. The truth is, done is better than perfect. Launching something into the world, allowing it to be seen in its imperfection, is an act of courage that generates momentum. Real-world feedback is far more valuable than the endless pursuit of an unattainable ideal. Life rewards action, not perfection. The invitation is to a funeral. The funeral of the perfect person you never were and never will be. Let that false identity die. Cry for it if you need to. And then, in the empty space it leaves behind, allow your true, imperfect self to be reborn. A self that is confused, contradictory, vulnerable, and absolutely magnificent in its humanity. It is from this resurrection that you rediscover the simplest and deepest joy of all, the joy of being real, which takes us back to the beginning, to the rebirth of curiosity. Supreme wisdom often hides in the simplicity of a child's gaze. Recovering the ability to be enchanted by the world, to ask questions with genuine curiosity, and to celebrate small discoveries is the pinnacle of spiritual maturity. Life is a continuous adventure for those who refuse to lose the sparkle in their eyes in the face of the unknown. When you choose to live in alignment with your own values, nurturing joy and serving the world from your own wholeness, you become a natural magnet for extraordinary experiences. The final invitation is not to seek something outside, but to awaken the inner master, who knows that each breath is already the greatest of all miracles. At some point in the journey, we exchange the expansive question, "What is this?" for the contractive question, "When will this happen?" The first is the mark of curiosity, of presence of the beginner's mind. The second is the mark of anxiety, of haste, of the mind that lives in the future. This subtle exchange is where the joy of living begins to leak out. Recovering curiosity is a conscious act of returning to the first question. It is looking at a tree, a face, a challenge, as if it were the first time, free from the weight of prior knowledge and expectations. True spiritual humility is not about diminishing oneself, but about recognizing oneself as an eternal student of life. It is the willingness to not know, to be open to being surprised, to admit that the mystery is much greater than our capacity for understanding. The ego wants definitive answers. certainties, control. The spirit delights in questioning, in exploration, in unfolding. When you embrace the student's posture, each day becomes a lesson, each person becomes a teacher, and each challenge becomes a learning experience. Living in alignment with your values is the compass that guides this exploration. When you know what is fundamentally important to you, whether it's freedom, connection, creativity, or service, your choices become simple. You no longer need external approval because your actions are validated internally. This congruence creates a powerful resonance. You stop chasing people and opportunities and start attracting them because your energy becomes a clear beacon, signaling who you are and what you stand for. In this context, celebration becomes an act of recognition. You celebrate not only great victories, but the courage to have made an aligned choice, the beauty of a moment of connection, the synchronicity of an unexpected encounter. Life transforms into a treasure hunt, where the treasures are moments of presence, beauty, and truth. Gratitude ceases to be a practice and becomes a state of being, a natural consequence of living with open eyes and heart. Authentic service is born from this fullness. When your cup is overflowing, you can't help but share. Serving ceases to be an obligation or a sacrifice and becomes a joyful expression of your abundance. You give not to receive, but because the act of giving is in itself a source of joy. Your service becomes magnetic because it doesn't come from a place of lack or need for validation, but from a genuine overflowing of your being. This rebirth through curiosity is a return to the inner Garden of Eden. It is a state of grace that has always been available, but which has been obscured by layers of conditioning, fear, and judgment. It is the rediscovery that magic is not somewhere out there, but in your own perception. And for this perception to deepen, it is necessary to learn to digest not only the present, but also the past, transforming all experiences into nourishment for the soul. Just as the physical body needs to digest food to extract nutrients, the soul needs to digest experiences to transform them into wisdom. Every difficult moment you have lived through was not just a traumatic event, but a cosmic meal destined for your growth. The problem is that we often swallow these experiences whole, without chewing, without processing, and they remain trapped in our emotional system as invisible blockages. True spiritual digestion requires you to stop, breathe, and allow each situation to be broken down into its essential components. When you can extract the lesson without carrying the weight of pain, the energy that was trapped in that trauma is released and becomes fuel for creation. This is the alchemical secret that transforms lead into gold. Emotional indigestion is the root cause of many of our chronic ailments. Anxiety, depression, and persistent anger are symptoms of undigested experiences. They are pieces of the past that continue to fester within us, releasing emotional toxins that poison our present. You can try to ignore them, suppress them, or distract yourself from them, but they remain there, in the basement of your being, influencing your decisions and sabotaging your happiness. The only way out is to go down to the basement and clean it up. The digestive process begins with chewing, which, at the soul level, is contemplation. It's looking at the painful experience from all angles, without judgment. It's asking, what did I learn about myself? Where was I strong? Where do I need to forgive myself? What did this situation reveal about my values and needs? This chewing breaks the experience into smaller, more manageable pieces, separating the fact from the story you've told yourself about the fact. After chewing comes assimilation. This is where you extract the nutrient, the wisdom. Wisdom is not the memory of pain. It is the lesson that pain taught. It can be a lesson about boundaries, about self-love, about resilience, about compassion. When you assimilate the lesson, it becomes part of you, an internal resource that you can use to navigate future challenges. The experience ceases to be a trauma and becomes a source of power. You are no longer defined by the wound, but by the wisdom you extracted from it. The final step is elimination. It's the conscious release of what no longer serves you. Guilt, resentment, shame, the victim mentality. This isn't about forgetting what happened, but letting go of the emotional baggage associated with the event. It's an act of forgiveness, not necessarily for the other person, but for yourself, for having carried this weight for so long. Elimination creates space. It releases the energy that was being used to keep the trauma in place, making it available for the present moment. Many people get stuck in emotional constipation. They refuse to let go of the past, to forgive, to move on. They cling to their grievances and stories of suffering because it has become their identity. Letting go seems frightening, as if they would lose a part of themselves. But what they don't realize is that they are clinging to a poison. Release is not a loss, it is a purification. It is what allows vital energy to flow again. This process of digesting the soul is what allows for true celebration. You cannot fully celebrate the present if a part of you is still stuck in the past. Each digested experience, each trauma transformed into wisdom, each release of old pain increases your capacity to be present. You become lighter, freer, more whole. And this wholeness is the prerequisite for breaking the deepest addiction of all. The addiction to postponing life itself. There is an addiction more powerful than any substance, and you are probably already addicted to it without realizing it. It's the addiction to waiting for tomorrow, to postponing life to a moment that never comes. This addiction is so insidious because society celebrates it, calls it responsibility, planning, maturity. But the truth is that every time you postpone joy, every time you deny your body the right to relax and celebrate, you are reinforcing a neurological pattern of deprivation. The brain learns that security never arrives, that life is always a struggle, and therefore continues to produce cortisol and adrenaline even when there is no real threat. Liberation from this addiction requires a revolutionary act of disobedience against one's own programming. You need to break the cycle deliberately, even if it seems irresponsible. This addiction manifests as a constant internal dialogue. I will be happy when, I will relax after that. Life will begin as soon as. This constant projection into the future robs the present of its vitality. You live in a state of almost there, a perpetual anticipation that never resolves. The finish line is always moving. When you reach a goal, the mind immediately creates the next one, denying you permission to stop and celebrate the achievement. Joy becomes a check that can never be cashed. Physiologically, this pattern is devastating. The body doesn't distinguish between a real threat and an imagined one. To your nervous system, constant worry about the future is indistinguishable from being chased by a predator. The result is a chronic state of low-grade stress, which compromises the immune system, impairs digestion, accelerates aging, and blocks creativity. You are literally wearing yourself down by waiting for life to pass you by. Breaking this habit requires micro acts of rebellion. It means celebrating before you're ready. It means taking 10 minutes to do nothing in the middle of a chaotic day. It means buying yourself flowers for no reason. It means dancing in the kitchen while preparing dinner. Each of these small acts of present-day celebration is a message to your nervous system. You're saying, it's safe. We're okay. Celebration is allowed now. At first, this will seem strange, even wrong. The mind addicted to waiting will protest. It will tell you that you don't have time, that there are more important things to do, that you don't deserve it. That voice is the sound of the withdrawal pattern. It's the old programming fighting to survive. Your task is to listen to that voice, acknowledge it, and gently choose to celebrate anyway. Consistency in these small acts is what rewires the brain. The fear behind this addiction is the fear of emptiness. If we are not constantly striving for the future, who are we? Waiting gives us a sense of purpose, even if it's a purpose based on lack. To stop waiting means facing the present moment in all its nakedness. It may be uncomfortable at first, but it is in this space of presence that true identity, free from goals and expectations, can emerge. Breaking free from the addiction to waiting doesn't mean abandoning your goals. It means changing your relationship with them. Your goals become points of direction on a map, not the sole source of your happiness. Joy is found in the journey, in exploration, in the dance of the present moment. And the most powerful and immediate tool to anchor you in that journey, to break the spell of waiting, is literally right under your nose. Breathing is the only vital process that can be both automatic and conscious, and it is precisely at this crossroads that its transformative power resides. When you breathe consciously, you are sending a direct signal to the nervous system that it is safe to switch out of survival mode. Deep, slow breathing activates the vagus nerve, which in turn activates the parasympathetic system, creating the physiological conditions for healing, creativity, and joy. Many ancient spiritual traditions understood this intuitively and created elaborate breathing practices. But you don't need anything complex. A conscious breath, done with intention, is a powerful ritual within your reach right now. Each deep breath is a vote of confidence in the present, a silent affirmation that you deserve to be alive and well now. Think of your breath as the bridge between the visible and invisible worlds, between body and mind. When your mind is agitated, your breath is short and irregular. When you calm your breath, your mind inevitably follows. It's a two-way street. Using your breath consciously is the quickest and most effective way to change your inner state. It's an act of personal sovereignty, a declaration that you are not a victim of your emotions or circumstances, but the conductor of your own inner orchestra. The ritual can be incredibly simple. Stop what you're doing. Feel your feet on the ground. Inhale slowly through your nose, counting to 4, feeling your abdomen expand. Hold your breath for a moment, feeling the fullness. And then, exhale slowly through your mouth, counting to 6, releasing not only the air, but all the tension, all the worry, all the rush. Repeat this 3 times. In less than a minute, you've altered your body chemistry and recalibrated your system. Each conscious breath is an act of anchoring in the now. The mind may wander to the past or the future, but the breath is always happening in the present. By focusing your attention on it, you pull yourself back to the only moment that truly exists. You escape the prison of thought and enter the freedom of sensation. Anxiety, which feeds on future projections, cannot survive in the intensity of the present moment. Breathing is the antidote to anxiety. Ancient traditions called this vital energy carried by the breath prana or chi. They understood that breathing is not just a mechanical process of gas exchange, but an act of absorbing vital force from the universe. By breathing with intention, you are not only oxygenating your cells, you are nourishing yourself energetically. You are filling yourself with vitality, presence, and power. Each inhalation is a receiving. Each exhalation is a giving. Incorporate this ritual into your daily life. Breathe consciously before starting work, before a difficult conversation, when you feel overwhelmed. Use your breath as a sacred pause, a moment to reconnect with yourself before moving forward. Transform moments of waiting, such as in a queue or in traffic, into opportunities for this powerful ritual. You will begin to notice how these small moments of presence accumulate, creating an underlying state of calm and clarity. By mastering your breath, you master your state. And by mastering your state, you begin to influence your reality in a profound way. You stop reacting to life and begin to create it from a place of center and power. Breath becomes your constant ally, your guide back home, to your body, to the now. And it is from this state of anchored presence that energy, previously blocked, finally finds a way to flow. When you finally allow your body to relax, something extraordinary happens. The energy that was being wasted on tension, on vigilance, on preparing for threats that never come, is released and begins to flow freely. This released energy doesn't disappear, it transforms. It can transform into explosive creativity, into genuine compassion, into the ability to serve others authentically. It's as if you've been driving a car with the handbrake on your whole life, and suddenly someone whispers that you can release it. The acceleration you feel isn't dangerous, it's liberating. When you allow the energy to flow, you discover capabilities you didn't know you possessed. You become more productive, more creative, more alive. And the paradox is that all this happens not through struggle, but through surrender. This released energy is your life force, your Jing and Qi. Before, it was being hijacked by your internal alarm system, constantly diverted to fuel tense muscles, a worried mind, and adrenal glands on high alert. It was a war economy. Now, with the peace treaty signed through relaxation and presence, this same energy is redirected to the ministry of creation, connection, and expansion. You have access to a reservoir of power that has always been there, but was inaccessible. The flow of creativity becomes noticeably stronger. Ideas that seem distant begin to arrive with clarity. Solutions to old problems appear intuitively. You find yourself writing, painting, cooking, or simply solving problems at work with an ease you didn't feel before. This happens because creativity is not an act of force, but of channeling. And a relaxed and open channel allows a much greater flow to pass through it. Your ability to connect with others also deepens. The energy that was previously used to maintain your armor and your mask is now available for empathy. You can truly listen, be present for other people without needing to defend yourself or prove anything. Your interactions become richer and more meaningful. People feel safe and seen in your presence because you are safe and see yourself first. Personal magnetism is not a technique. It is the result of an open and coherent energy field. Physically, you may feel more vitality. Sleep becomes more restorative. Digestion improves. Minor aches and chronic discomforts may begin to diminish. This is because the freely flowing energy supports the body's natural healing and regeneration processes. The parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, finally has a chance to do its job. Celebration at the mental level translates into rejuvenation at the cellular level. The paradox of surrender is the ultimate lesson. In a culture that glorifies effort, struggle, and overcoming, the idea that the greatest power comes from surrender may seem counterintuitive. But it is not a passive surrender of giving up. It is an active and intelligent surrender. It is the wisdom of stopping the fight against oneself, of letting go of what cannot be controlled, and of trusting in the greater flow of life. It is aligning one's small will with the great will of the universe. This flowing energy isn't just for your personal benefit. It overflows. It touches you and through you, touches your family, your community, your work. A regulated nervous system has a regulating effect on others around you. Your calmness becomes contagious. Your presence becomes a gift. And it is here that the individual journey reveals itself as part of something much larger, a celebration that, at its core, is collective. What you are discovering right now is not just a personal truth. It is a universal truth that resonates through all human beings. When you choose to celebrate the present, when you choose to relax and allow life to flow, you are participating in a collective movement of awakening. Every person who breaks free from the addiction to waiting, every person who learns to listen to their body's language, every person who chooses joy over perfection, is contributing to a greater transformation. You are not alone on this journey. There are thousands of people around the world who are discovering exactly what you are discovering now. True celebration is not a solitary act. It is a collective ritual of returning to one's own essence. Your personal healing is healing for the collective. Every time you break a generational trauma pattern, you are freeing not only yourself, but also your ancestors and your descendants. Every time you choose compassion instead of judgment, you are adding a drop of peace to an ocean of conflict. Do not underestimate the power of your inner work. It creates ripples that extend far beyond your immediate perception. You are an acupuncture point in the body of humanity. The journey of awakening can seem lonely at times, but that's an illusion. We are all connected by an invisible field of consciousness. When you have a breakthrough, the energy of that discovery becomes more accessible to everyone else. When someone on the other side of the world learns to love themselves a little more, the path to their own self-love becomes a little easier. We are like climbers on the same mountain, connected by invisible ropes. When one climbs, everyone feels a slight upward pull. That's why sharing your journey is so important. Not from a place of ego, but from a place of service. Your story, with all its struggles and victories, is a map for someone who is a few steps behind you. Your vulnerability gives them the courage to be vulnerable. Your authenticity gives them permission to be authentic. By sharing, you transform your personal experience into medicine for the community. The new era of spirituality is not about gurus in the mountains or isolated retreats. It's about ordinary people in their daily lives, choosing presence, awareness, and love. It's an embodied spirituality, lived in the body, in relationships, in work. It's the understanding that the sacred is not separate from the profane, but infused into every moment, every breath, every interaction. Celebration is finding the divine in the ordinary. This is an invitation to join this collective celebration, to recognize yourself in others and others in yourself, to build bridges of connection based on truth and vulnerability, to create communities where people can support each other on their journey back home to themselves. The transformation of the world will not come from governments or institutions. It will come from a critical mass of individuals who have chosen to awaken. Leave your comment below, share your story. Join this community of beings who have chosen to live fully. Subscribe to follow this ongoing journey of awakening and transformation. Because true magic happens when we unite around the simplest and most powerful truth: that each of us deserves to celebrate life now, not tomorrow. Welcome home, my friend. Welcome back to your own life. If you've made it this far, it's because a deep part of you recognized the truth in these words. You felt the weight of the armor and the promise of freedom that comes with letting it go. This is no coincidence. To seal this journey we've taken together, leave your mark in the comments with the phrase, "My celebration begins now." If this video touched your soul, I have an invitation that goes beyond knowledge. For our mission to continue alive and reach more minds, we need to walk together. Today, the most powerful way to support this channel is through an exchange. By purchasing the ebooks, you receive the keys to mental alchemy and the laws of consciousness, and we receive the necessary support to keep going. It is not just a purchase. It is your seal of commitment to the awakening we promote here. Without this support, our journey becomes limited. The link is pinned in the first comment. Shall we keep this frequency active?